What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Guilty as Charged podcast. Today, we are going to look at the red zone woes that the Chargers had when they played the Dallas Cowboys last week. Unfortunately, even though they put up over 400 yards of offense, they only scored 17 points and they lost. The defense did pretty much everything they could to limit the number of points that Dallas was able to score. They held them to 20 points. They should have won. Unfortunately, the offense could not capitalize. And there were a number of reasons for that. And if you just try to place this at the loss, the red zone woes on one person, one play, a ref, you're sort of right, but it's a combination of things. It's not just one of those things. It's turnovers, it's penalties or non penalties, it's execution errors, it's making predetermined reads, it's Storm Norton, unfortunately. So we're going to get into those all right now. The plays are a little bit shuffled and out of order. It's not going to be drive by drive. It's going to be in one of those categories I just mentioned: turnovers, penalties or non penalties, execution errors, predetermined reads, or Storm Norton. So we're going to talk about each of those as we move through, because the Chargers need to fix this moving into week 3, because the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, I believe, averaged 31.5 points per game. So if he scores 20 points, you score 17 points, you're not going to win this week, barring a miraculous effort from your defense, which you cannot expect against Mahomes, Reed, Kelsey, Hill, all those guys. So let's get into it right now. We're going to start with turnovers. And look, I'm not someone who's ever going to sit here and tell Keenan Allen that he's running his routes wrong and he should have done this better. But I believe Brandon Staley came out and said, listen, this route was rounded. Herbert, taking Keenan Allen versus a DB one-on-one isn't really a problem. Unfortunately, Allen does round this route out a little bit, and it allows Diggs to pick off that pass. So I don't really hate the decision by Herbert here. It's unfortunate, but it is an interception. Now, yes, I know this isn't the red zone, but it is a drive killer, and technically the interception does occur in the red zone, so it does count. Another thing I want you to watch here too, and I have another play after this. Herbert on play action sometimes, and this is twice that I have in this video. I think there were other couple times as well. He's not he's not faking the handoff the right way. So this is the exact same play, and he's just off. And listen, that happens sometimes, but it wasn't the first time or the second time or the third time that game. Here's another play right here. Same thing. And I'm not sure why that's the case. Of course, well, I'm sort of sure why. They haven't really practiced much. They're just learning a new offense. Sure. It's just, I'm assuming that's not what you're supposed to do. So it's very strange to have seen that multiple times throughout this game. Again, this play was fine. The result was fine. Him handing off the wrong way isn't the issue here. But I just thought it was really interesting. Okay, so including in turnovers, unfortunately, are missed kicks, turnover on fourth down. And this was a missed kick. And while you could say that potentially because this edge rusher comes off the edge so well and so quickly that maybe Vizcaino has to kick it slightly to the left, you could say that. But at the end of the day, it is a miss. So whether you want to chalk it up to blocking, to being mentally, having to change things really quickly, to just flat out missing. But either way, this is a turnover. Took 3 points off the board. Chargers lost by 3 points. What about? Oh, by the way, Pipkins gets a face mask penalty on this play. I've never seen a face mask penalty by the kicking team before, so that's not good. And then last one here, Keenan Allen is going to be, I think, potentially open. I think the biggest regret, I guess, from this play is that Justin Jackson is wide open. But I do think Keenan Allen was open enough to make this work. So I don't fault Herbert too much. And by the time Herbert is winding up to throw, Keenan Allen is tripped up. Some people say slipped, some people say tripped, whatever you want to call it. Point is, Keenan Allen was not there. Herbert was already throwing, and this is an interception. Now, again, Justin Jackson, wide open. But, it is what it is. So it's just very unfortunate. And part of the game, rewatching it, is kind of a shit happens sort of game where, I don't think Keenan Allen is going to fall or be tripped or slip on 2 potentially touchdown scoring plays. That's just not going to happen. I don't think the refs are always going to be that bad. It's just a combination of shit happens, to be honest. But yes, Jackson is open here. probably walks in. All he has to do is make one guy miss, probably. And I think he walks in. But I don't hate Herbert going to Allen here in the red zone. And look, targeting Allen in the red zone is a good thing. They want to try to get him more involved in the red zone. I don't hate that. But unfortunately, he falls over. Okay, the next set of plays, I'm just going to breeze through some of them, or at least this one. It's a false start, but it's part of the reason that they couldn't score. Penalties, non-penalties. I feel like during the game they called this on Lindsley, but I do see Allen move up here. But either way, this is a false start and moves him back 5 yards. So that's not good. Then they have, of course, the illegal shift play, which by textbook is correct. Them calling it is wishy-washy. However, this is the fourth quarter where refs are more likely to call calls or to, throw flags so they don't feel like that they've missed a call and lose their own jobs. Unfortunately, that does lose the Chargers the game. Yes, it's wishy-washy, ticky-tacky. Technically, it's legal or not legal. Technically, it is by the book, and so they did call it. Now, you do have Ibushi's leg moving here as part of that. You do have Cook moving, Williams moving. So, it is what it is. Touchdown off the board. Not good. Plus the taunting penalty that we all hate. So this is the next one here is a non-call. And to me, this is the most irritating of the bunch. As much as I want to say that sack, non-sack call was the most irritating, this one I think is the most blatantly egregious in terms of missing a call by the refs. Herbert is going to throw to Williams here. And unfortunately, they do not call the defense for defensive pass interference, which I think is a giant mistake. Because that is not good defense. Last time I checked, all of that is not legal. Let's go one more time. That's pass interference. How many times have we seen Michael Davis do that back in the past? Not as much anymore, but in the past, how many times have we seen Michael Davis do that and get called for pass interference? They don't call it there, despite the play before, I believe, calling them on a penalty. And so like the refs are going, okay, in that moment, we want to call the plays and be sure we get our calls in. But with that blatant pass interference, no way. Just one of those games. Now, this last one, of course, you all know what happens. Unfortunately, Herbert rolls. Keenan Allen slips up here. If you didn't notice that the first time, Keenan Allen does slip out of his break here. He probably, especially if you watch the condensed game, does look pretty open on that play. Unfortunately, he does slip. And so Herbert has to hold on to the ball. And they call Herbert down on a sack, which makes no sense to me. That was a bad call. But I will say, and this does lean into the next part of my segment, is that Herbert does need to throw this away. At some point, he does need to throw this away. Fight another day. They're only down by 3 points at this time. And so, that potentially would have taken them out of field goal range. If they didn't get any yards on the next play, they could have been out of field goal range. Now, okay, I don't mean that Vizcaino couldn't hit it. I just mean he already missed one in the game. So it could have been very, very potentially bad for them to have taken that and not thrown the ball away and then missed a field goal, and they would have lost the game much, much sooner. So this does lean into execution errors next. Nothing particularly disturbing or worrisome here on third down. There's nothing open. Dallas has this covered. So it's not like they're going to pick a first down anyway. But Herbert does just flat out miss Keenan Allen here. This is very reminiscent of the Kansas City game or even the Panthers game where he just wasn't hitting those out routes. Something that, he's fixed over time for sure, but would like to see him be more consistent there. Now, if you're worried about Donald Parham targets, and I'm sorry, this isn't exactly the red zone, but I do feel like it's close enough. And with Herbert's arm, really the red zone should be like 30-0. But this one in particular, Parham, a guy who was not targeted in this game, except for the one play that was called back. Parham's open here. And I don't really hate the decision from Herbert here. They do pick up yards. It's not like, they don't pick up any yards. Herbert doesn't take a sack. And I will say there was pressure in his face, but Parham is open here, and he ends up getting the ball to the receiver or the running back instead. So Parham's open. He waves his hand to show that he's open. and the ball doesn't go there. Ball goes somewhere else. They do pick up yards. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think Herbert could have hit him for at least a gain. And at the end of the day, like, yes, maybe at some point he could be covered, but you just throw that up there for your 6'9" tight end. Not only does he have enough space, but he's 6'9". And so I would have loved to see him get the ball here. But again, I don't hate that play. This one here is more of a miss from Herbert. You have Jared Cook lined up against Jalen Smith. On this angle, it doesn't look too bad, but you can tell on the next angle that Herbert just flat out throws this behind Cook. If I'm not mistaken, there's also a penalty on this play. So it doesn't matter a ton, but you do want to see him hitting this because in stride, potentially that is a touchdown. So there's Cook against the linebacker. And the ball's thrown way behind him. If anything, they're at the 3 or the 4 with a good ball here. Unfortunately, that's just a miss. It happens. Herbert's not perfect. The other one I want to point out, the next 2 plays are just predetermined reads. There's nothing really wrong with it. They get exactly what they want. They have they have Williams lined up one-on-one. They get exactly what they want. Earlier in the game, they had Williams lined up one-on-one. Granted, at that point, they were much further away from each other. The defensive back was playing 5 and then backpedaled 10 yards back before the snap. So this is a little bit different, but they do get Williams one-on-one, and so they want to go here. I don't really fault them for that, but it's still something that happened multiple times throughout the game. And unfortunately, nothing comes of it. Nothing came of it here. Nothing came of it on the play where they should have. Now, granted, it should have been defensive pass interference, but nothing came of that play either. So predetermined throw there. This is that defensive pass interference play. Williams is here. And another predetermined, look, I'm going to throw it to him. Woohoo. I guess part of the reason that I'm frustrated with the predetermined reads, if you watch Austin Eckler here, he's going to be open. And again, I don't fault them for throwing it to Williams. Really, like the thought process of throwing it to Williams makes sense. You get him one-on-one, they're going to free him up. Basically, it's going to be Williams one-on-one with his guy over here. And it's either going to be defensive pass interference or a touchdown. It ends up being neither, unfortunately, because of the non-call. But I would like to see them in different situations try something a little more unique here, right? Because Austin Eckler, listen, Williams one-on-one with the DB is pretty good. Eckler one-on-one in the open field with the linebacker is also really, really good. You can't convince me that Eckler doesn't catch the ball here and drag this defender's sorry ass into the end zone. There's no way with full momentum, with the right angle, catching it in stride, that Eckler doesn't drag this dude to the goalpost and dunk on him. So again, the play wasn't designed to go to him, but I would have liked to see Eckler or somebody else get some sort of shot here. Unfortunately, they do go to Williams. There's no defensive pass interference, and they don't score a touchdown. Okay, the last one is going to come down to Storm Norton. There are 2 plays here where Storm Norton just gets beat, and unfortunately, it does disrupt the play and doesn't let things work out for the offense. So here's the first one. And I think this play is actually kind of designed to go to Eckler here. There's also another opening, I believe, in the middle of the field at some point. But unfortunately, sorry if I drew your attention away from the play. Unfortunately, Norton just straight up gets beaten. And then Herbert has to roll out. The play can't develop. And so he has to throw it away. So the ball is either going to Eckler here, which would have been fine, get some yards there. Or if you let the play develop, I believe I might be Parham or Williams would have been open in the middle of the field here. But unfortunately, you give up pressure, you got to roll out, and you got to throw it away. And pressures happen. It happens. It's just unfortunate that in this red zone area, it forces them to not be able to move the ball any further. Now, Norton here does get beaten. This is a run play. Quarterback Herbert ends up keeping this and running. This angle, I don't really like it. The next angle, it does look better. And I understand why Herbert would have kept it, why they ran it. But unfortunately, Norton just gets beat again. Again, that angle, don't really like it. This one, a little bit different. And I'll try to pause it at the right time. StreamYard's a little slow, so bear with me. So at this point, right here, Herbert pretty much has a wide open lane there. Now, I believe This linebacker also does end up tackling him, but if Norton can hold his block here, right? Because this guy is thinking full run, tackles the ball carrier, which I'm sure must really hurt. It must really suck when you're not holding onto the ball. But Herbert has a wide open lane here. And even if it comes down to this guy, not full speed versus Herbert, Herbert can run through him. Herbert can run around him. He can stiff arm him. I think there are some plays Herbert can make here, even though it's not a free run. I think there are some ways that Herbert can make plays here and get past this guy or through this guy. Unfortunately, this block is not picked up, and that's as far as the play goes. And I believe that was on 2nd and 12. So that's it. Again, combination of things: turnovers, penalties, non-calls, refs, Storm Norton, execution, bad throws. It's a combination of everything. And, what do they fix heading into week 3? I don't know, but if they can fix at least 2 or 3 of those things, because Norton's really not going to get any better. And the penalties, the ref influence you can't fix. But if you can limit those penalties, if you can execute better, get it to Donald Parham, don't turn the ball over. If you can do those things, I think they can at least add 10 points this week. Now, they scored 17 last week. That means if they could score 27 this week, can they win? Can they win with 27 points? I think they could, but it's going to be really, really close. They want to be as efficient as possible. And right now, they are dead last in the NFL in touchdown percentage in the red zone, and the worst start, I believe, since 2016. So not good. Things are not that great. So what do you think is the most correctable of all of these things, aside from the refs? But in terms of what the team can do, or what Herbert or Lombardi or these guys can do, what is the most correctable? And then what bugs you the most? What do you think is going to be the most worrisome as they travel to Kansas City? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, bolt up.